But as we approach Election Day, the Conservatives are also running 2 new ads, neither of which feature Pierre Poilievre.
Do you really think that a 4th Liberal term is going to change anything?
You know, I've been thinking the same thing.
Are we really going to give these clowns a 4th term? I'm voting Conservative.
The 2 men running to lead us both once worked for me, and my choice unequivocally is Pierre Poilievre.
Okay, Cheryl, let's start with you. What do you make of that? A couple old guys playing golf, older guys, not old guys. I'm getting in that age myself. And Prime Minister Stephen Harper former Prime Minister, making an appeal for Pierre Poilievre. What do you make of those ads?
I only look to old rich white men to tell me what I need in life. So I completely see why these ads are resonating with people. I don't get it. I have never understood the Conservatives' ad strategy. This has not been the only cringe-worthy ad that they've put out through this campaign. I understand Stephen Harper. There's a lot of people, within the Conservative circle who have a lot of respect for Stephen Harper, and that hearing from him can be a motivator. Mm-hmm. But the idea that, choosing Pierre Poilievre over Mark Carney is surprising to anyone for Stephen Harper. It shouldn't be. As I watch these ads, I'm so shocked because the Conservatives' digital advertising game is incredible. Their reach is incredible. Their ability to motivate people is incredible, but it's not in the content of their ads. It's in the communities they've created. They've created these huge online communities, hundreds of thousands, millions of eyeballs on everything that they do. And that's where the value is. It is clearly not in the content of their advertising because this is shocking in the final stretch of a campaign.
Well, Lisa, one of those communities is obviously male boomers who, oddly enough, are not with the Conservatives at this stage of the election. And it seems to be a direct appeal to a cohort that they had in the past and think they can get this time, but that they don't have right now.
Yeah, who aren't, by the way, on any kind of digital platform whatsoever. They can barely operate the garage door opener, I think, sometimes. And
my dad can install a garage door. Come on.
Oh, very good. I'm sorry. Some people are handy. This is true. But the reality is that playing these ads during sports events is going to get the eyeballs of the people and just reminding them what this is about from a Conservative point of view, which is you've given 10 years to the Liberal Party already. Are you going to give them another 4? And how do you really feel about this? Do you really want to do it that way? I actually think the ad's quite effective. I think it's eye-catching. I think if you see yourself in an ad, you're going to take a stop and you're going to look at it. I mean, is it going to attract my attention? No, because that's not me. But if you're going for the eyeballs of the over 55 male boomer, you're going to get their attention, especially if they're holding a golf club in their hands after the Masters.
Right. And, Rob, I don't know if that was your golf course or not, but are we going to give these clowns another chance? Resonates differently with the Maple Leafs audience, I think. But, what are your thoughts?
Hey. Easy.
I think when a party goes on offense, it always tells you about their defense. This tells us a great deal about their defense. This ad, our colleague Steve Marr suggests that this ad, there was a cattle call for old guys between 65 and 75. At a golf course on Monday last week.
To do it that day, I think, right?
To do it very, very quickly. Oh, cool. This ad was cut very quickly. They know that they needed to do something and do it in a hurry. And so that tells you about their defense. Your suggestion is a very good one, too, because they don't talk about Pierre Poilievre in that ad. Yep. That tells you about their vulnerability as well. I wonder where the Liberal ads are. I know there's supposed to be a Liberal ad out there. I don't know that I've seen it. I saw that ad. Yes, I watch a lot of sports on the weekend. I saw that ad everywhere.
Yeah.
So that ad buy was huge. Now, whether or not it's effective, I can tell you that I've seen Conservatives swing golf clubs. I've seen Lisa Raitt swing a golf club. She should be ashamed that any Conservative would swing a golf club that way. This was shot.
That's a sleeper issue of this campaign. Right? Poor golf for
this was shot. I think just not in Canada, very close. It might have been Canada, where I too have wielded weapons of grass destruction at a practice range, a public grass, just 2 or 3 days ago. It looks like it's very, very fresh. So there's some urgency there, which I think tells us a lot about what they need to shore up.
Jono, what do you make of it at this stage? Because I know the Liberals are apparently going to spend $8 million on ads this week. We'll see in all platforms. But we saw the first Carney's I was there in a crisis, the one I saw, but we've kind of been seeing a version of that from the beginning. I don't know what the closing argument will be. But what do you make of the decision, so much of the marketing of the Conservatives to this point has been Pierre Poilievre front and center, and he's not in these two?
I think to Rob's point, I think that's where they're feeling a weakness. The polls have stagnated in the sense that they're really, really good for the Conservatives. They're 36, 37, 38. They're really very good. They need to grow a little bit more. And I think that Pierre Poilievre is not going to get them there by being front and center, and that they're focused on how to resonate with, yes, that over 65 cohort of men. I don't think that they're ineffective. I just think that maybe they're a little late, because I think that most voters have made up their mind. Maybe they should have gone to this earlier in the campaign. And I also wonder if it may have a secondary effect of plastering Stephen Harper. Yes, it will resonate, maybe even with centrist voters. But will it turn off NDP voters who then say, I'm going to go back to the Liberals because I got to make sure that this guy and the Stephen Harper, protege doesn't get in? That's also a danger, because really, this isn't about getting Liberal votes. It's about, making sure the NDP goes up. And that's got to be the name of the game. I don't know how you do that. It's sort of, the secondary effect of how you advertise. But for the Conservatives to win, they need the NDP to go up.
Yeah, I think the $3 million they spent destroying Jagmeet Singh in the fall could be the biggest buyer.
I don't think they're going to advertise on his behalf now.
But Lisa, your thoughts on the Poilievre out of the ads, and whatever you wanted to jump in on there.
I just wanted to add, so hypothetically speaking, one could say that when you knock on a door and a gentleman over the age of 55 opens it, you may hear him say, I like the Conservative policies, but I don't like the leader. You may hear that. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but you may absolutely hear that. And maybe that information is coming back to the central campaign, and maybe that's something they feel that they have to shore up on. And I think that putting these ads out at this point in time is trying to get into that last minute voter at the ballot box, that final decision of where do I mark that X, that little niggling doubt in the back as to putting, I may not like the guy that's running Conservatives, but man, do I want another 4 years of these Liberals after the last 10? And I think it's effective. Jonathan may be right. It may be too late, but I think they're hearing feedback from the doors hypothetically.
Okay, so hypothetically, you could have heard this in Cape Breton, for example, or in the Milton area while knocking on doors.
Toronto or Milton.
Hypothetically, Conservative members of Parliament could be texting a CBC host and telling them very much that same thing. Cheryl, on the other point about whether Stephen Harper, while maybe able to sway some of the hypothetical people Lisa's hypothetically hearing about, could he scare progressive New Democrats, as Jono suggested, who remember those years not quite as fondly, maybe, as people who can golf and pay for their kids' down payments do?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think New Democrat, you haven't seen that vote move a lot. New Democrats in this election are just mostly motivated by the idea that they don't want Pierre Poilievre in government. And I've said this before, I don't think that means that New Democrats are, for this foreseeable future, moving towards Liberals just because they vote Liberal in this election. This is a anyone but Conservative vote. This is hold off the Conservative votes. This is I don't want Pierre Poilievre to be my prime minister vote. And all of those staunch New Democrats who are, letting the Liberals borrow their vote in this election, if that's what they're choosing, they will all go back to the NDP. And no matter how the NDP finishes in the election, those people will be there to rebuild the party no matter what, because we're stubborn.